things they have. Under the 1999 Constitution, you are slaves. Under the 1999 Constitution, you are slaves. And when you see lawyers who go, or other people who go parading themselves around as, human rights activists, under the 1999 Constitution, you are a damn slave. Anybody who doesn't understand that is going to pay in some way. Is going to suffer the consequences of that ignorance, because a constitution that removes your right to defend yourself from clear and present danger of death, a constitution that removes your right to own anything economic, all the assets are taken away from you, whether it's the oil and gas of the Niger Delta, or the port facilities of Lagos, or the limestone of the Middle Belt that's allocated to, one of the owners, the Dangotes of this world, by his own kinsmen, who are the custodians of that union, who are the operators of that Nigeria defined by that constitution. And in all of it, it is alleged that our signature, gives life to the document of damnation, meaning that we authorize our own damnation in the claim in that document that we, the people, agreed to be in this union as defined by that constitution, to be governed under the rules set out in that constitution, that has 68 items on the exclusive list that take away every single thing you will require to run a society. And so, under this constitution, let it be clear to all, under this constitution, we are just like slaves, like the South Africans, the black South Africans were in the apartheid era of South Africa. If we do not realize that is the situation, we'll continue to ask them to give us one kind of thing or the other that the Constitution expressly, removed from us. It will be acting in ignorance if we say they should stop corruption. We'll be acting in ignorance if we say they should give us electricity, while the generation and transmission remains, confiscated into the hands of the federal government. We'll be stupid if we ask them to give us security when we can organize our security better. Just because that constitution, puts all of that task in the hands of the federal government that doesn't know where we live. So these are the things that are coming up. Everything boils down to that constitution. The biggest obstacle before us now is the ignorance of the people in not realizing the source of their problem. The tap is on, producing corruption, producing decayed infrastructure, producing impunity, producing electoral haste, producing all kinds of things that we call, including the Fulani herdsmen killing all over the place. It is that constitution that made all that situation possible. Producing quota system, producing mediocrity that become the controlling tower of all our national life, producing turning Nigeria into the poverty capital of the world for a country as endowed both in material and human resources as Nigeria. And so it is a shame that not only the lawyers in the land, all of those who should know this, are just refusing to look at it, and they gather people to say, oh, let's go and fight for corruption to stop. Let's go and fight for roads to be fixed. Let's go and fight for schools to... All the things they are going to fight for are flowing from that one item. It's just like somebody telling the blacks in South Africa before 1994 that, oh, forget about apartheid constitution. Some even make a mockery of what we are doing. We've been at this for 21 years, trying to open the eyes of all of those who are being slaughtered across this land, all of those whose lives have been ruined. The Nigeria hadn't become the poverty capital of the world at the time we began to tell them that no economy can be grown on this foundation, on this constitutional foundation. Yeah. Because you can't plan anything, everything is by allocation. You can't, where will you get the electricity to plan your industry? Where will you get the roads to plan your whatever you want to be doing? So in all of that, it is that ignorance of that fact that you cannot build a democracy on the basis of a master-servant constitution. You are just deceiving yourself. Yeah. The few people who sustain it, who make it look like you are citizens, are your senators, your governors, your House of Assembly members, like the lunatics we saw on the floor of Lagos House of Assembly yesterday, talking trash. You know, these are the few people that make it look like there's a democracy. What is democracy? So that we can understand that we are not citizens. Let us even start with the one that we can all relate to. Democracy, that they say is government of the people, by the people, for the people. It is like the tree. All of us are familiar with the mango tree. It has roots that must touch the soil and bring nutrition to sustain the tree. It has the trunk, the stem and the trunk. Then it comes up to the foliage in that order. The roots are the foundation, the trunk, then the leaves and the branches up.
Yep.
The government of the people is that the people are the roots of this democracy. That the constitution they make in exercise of their sovereignty is like the roots upon which that society will stand. The government by the people is like the trunk. Their votes decide who go to government house, and all of what you do in elections and everything that becomes governance, everything that becomes who is in charge of doing it for us. Then you come to the foliage, the leaves. Oh, they may be all over that is the policy. You understand? That is the thing, the outcome of what the roots do, what the trunk do, carrying that foliage. You know, that's where you see for the people. Every good thing that will come to you will be because the root is bringing what is bringing, the trunk is standing where it's standing, and then you're able to receive the sunshine and be stable in that position to carry on.
Yeah.
So government is like the foundation of a house, the vertical column, that's the pillars, and the roof. These three things are distinct, and any one of them you compromise, especially the foundation. Our problem is that the foundation upon which Nigeria was erected got damaged completely in 1966. The attempt to, in January of 1966, the constitutions that define the Federation of Nigeria got toppled when the military came in. From that point on, Nigeria became like that tree where something cut off the roots underneath. And so the trunk stood there, and the leaves began to dry off gradually. As where we are now, except we do something to revive the foundation, the house of Nigeria is gone. If a house, if the foundation be damaged, for those of us who are Christians, if the foundation be destroyed, what can the righteous do? Is that not what the good book says? And so the foundation of Nigeria, the constitutional foundation of Nigeria, which is just the agreement by which the various components of Nigeria came together, have been destroyed. And that is what has brought all the other problems, because they removed that solid foundation, and we began to build on the rickety foundation that were done by decrees, especially from 1979, where the one they commissioned in 1975 became 1979 Constitution, which was carried forward in 1999 without any discussion amongst the constituents. That's the thing that is missing. Constitution is simply the union agreement, so that it doesn't get more, so that nobody makes it complicated for you. Union agreement. The union agreement we reached in Lancaster House that recognized Yoruba land as Yoruba land and Yoruba assets as Yoruba assets have been toppled. And so Yoruba land and Yoruba assets and the right of Yoruba to live peacefully in their land have been taken away by the impositions of people who now claim they've conquered all of us. We had El-Rufai telling us the other time on national television that we cannot that we cannot be a union of equal partnership. El-Rufai, the governor, the body bag governor that hangs around in Kaduna, he was telling us that they had conquered us, and therefore it would be stupid or foolish of us to expect all of us to be in equal partnership in the Union of Nigeria. And that's what we're talking about, the master servant constitution. It is by the instrumentality of that constitution that all of these things have become like that. That a few, like the Boers of South Africa, became the owners of everybody, the owners of all the assets, the owners of all the rights, to the exclusion of everybody else. The citizens or the nationals, those who are the constituents of Nigeria under this constitution are just slaves. And the slave does not have right to anything. Including right to his life. Your master can kill you. Like Buhari and his kinsmen are killing, massively all over the place. If you are a slave, you don't have a right. Right of property. Your master is the owner of everything that that you find in your space. That is why that the madman who was talking about oil and gas of Niger Delta belonging to of Bayelsa, belonging to Jigawa. It is because he has come under the illusion that there's a Nigeria. But luckily for all of us, he says, as long as we're in Nigeria. As long as we're in Nigeria, he said it up to 4 times in that interview, which I'm sure many people have seen.
Yeah.
It is that constitution that took away the oil and gas of Bayelsa, of Delta, of rivers. All of those who are in the Niger Delta talking about resource control, but who are not minding who are not already in the task of taking down that constitution to free back their assets are acting in ignorance or dishonesty, or both. There's not all of the campaign about resource control is the people you are talking to are just laughing at your ignorance. They are not going to bother with you. Once in a while, a few people can go and blow some pipeline, and then they get them by the side and settle them. That's what has been happening since the days of Isaac Boro. And unless somebody understands it, unless those who are fed up with being slaves in their spaces understand it sufficiently to come to tackle the source of the problem, every other thing they are doing is a waste of time. They are going to be killed like they are being killed now. And that enemy, that conqueror that owns those assets is already on its way to eliminating those who are still hanging around and making those claims. They already invited Fulani from all over Africa to come to take their portions. They've shared out like the tile. Wherever you are, look to the ground now, you will see the tiles in the floor. That is how they have shared the lands of Nigeria all the way to Badagry, all the way to Boni, from Sokoto and Maiduguri to Fulani of Africa. Because the title deed by which Nigeria is operated, by which Nigeria is convened today, makes the entirety of Nigeria and all its assets, everything that you could find, belong to the owners of that estate. And we remember how in 1960, Ahmadu Bello declared the entire estate, the entire Nigeria, an estate of their great-grandfather Uthman Dan Fodio. And that on no account should that be allowed to change. That the Middle Belt will be used as willing tools and the South as conquered territory, never allowing us to rule over them and never allowing us to have any control over our future. They have managed to carry out that battle script of 1960 to the letter. That's how we came about the constitution we have on the table now. So whether you're in the Niger Delta lamenting the loss of oil and gas, or you are in Yoruba land lamenting the loss of control of Port of Lagos and all the bitumen of Ondo and all kinds of things you find in Lagos and in Yoruba land, or you're in the Middle Belt wondering why strangers will come in the numbers that they come to kill you off, take your land, and hand over to other people. In Southern Kaduna, they are renaming the communities where they've wiped off people. We see people that run away from the killings into IDP camps. And then suddenly there will be accident in which Air Force is bombing even people who are running for their life. You come to the ground into the camps and see the kind of atrocities going on. They are exterminating these people. It is a deliberate ethnic cleansing design. All of it is being enabled by this constitution. And in the midst of this discussion, some people are still talking about election in 2023 under that constitution that made the rest of us slaves. In the midst of the protest, the most urgent business Buhari will transact is to reappoint Mahmoud Yakub as the INEC chair. And then Mahmoud Yakub already rolled out the election timetable for 2023. And people who are faced with this existential threat, with this issue of life and death, are still waving PDP and APC flag with them, preparing for election in which the winner will govern, will swear to, and govern by that constitution. All of those in the National Assembly who swear to defend and uphold that constitution. The Desmond Elliott in Lagos House of Assembly, who has sworn to defend and uphold the constitution that enslaved Lagos people. That's why he can stand on the floor of that house and dismiss those who are struggling for their future as children, abusing them. Then the lady, what's her name again? Moji Chola from the one representing Amuwad of me, comes to say that they're on drug. Can you imagine? And therefore, we are talking to all of those who are choking from what Nigeria is doing to them in their space, to realize that it is that constitution that put them where they are. It is that constitution that is shooting at them. It is that constitution that took their assets. It is that constitution that put lunatics in charge of their lives. If INEC, if Nigeria does not have the kind of centralized electoral system in which people sit in Abuja, and in some small corners, of course, there are all kinds of godfathers here and there who go to do the business on behalf of some of the blocks in Abuja. Is there anybody they put down their names that become anything? No. That is how we got the kind of governors we have seen in eastern Nigeria. That's how we got the kind of senators we have seen across the country. And all of them, on account of what they will benefit, on account of the humongous sums they take home every month, they swear to defend and uphold that constitution as the basis of the union. At a time, those who are choking, they are defending and upholding it. That's why they're not agreeing with their people who have come out to repudiate that constitution in every democratic way possible. Did Yoruba land not come out in Ibadan on the 7th of September in 2017 to repudiate that constitution as basis of the union? Did the eastern half of southern Nigeria not come out in Port Harcourt on the 27th of April in 2015, Presidential Hotel in Port Harcourt, to repudiate that constitution as basis of the union? Did it not happen in the Middle Belt in Makurdi on the 18th of July in 2018, that the peoples of the Middle Belt came together to say, we did not make that constitution, we repudiate it and reject it as the basis of the union. The only people hanging onto that constitution, the only people hanging onto that instrument of death, the only people hanging onto that instrument of poverty are those who swear to defend and uphold it. All the political parties in Nigeria subscribe to that constitution. They are the only ones telling the rest of us to go to hell while they sustain the apartheid constitution that make us slaves in our lands. The young people who are protesting, all of those who want a change, anybody who says he's going to fight corruption under a constitution that creates corruption and protects its beneficiaries comprehensively. And like we agreed today, we must go to the specifics. What are those things in black and white in that document that enable these things we're talking about, so that people can know? People can begin to ask the lawyers who come to pose as experts in telling them their rights and what they must get. The corruption we're talking about, let's start with that. Let's even start with the SARS. Let's start with the SARS. The exclusive list on the Constitution has police and arms and ammunition among the 68 items. What that means is that the policing or the army or the armed services, anything that will require gun to be done, that's the summary of it. Whether it is police or army or DSS or prisons or customs or immigration, anything that will require gun, any agency that will have to use gun, anytime arms or ammunition will have to be put to any kind of use. Being on that exclusive list means that it is only the federal government, whoever is in Abuja, is the one to decide to own it and hold it. If he does not give to you, you cannot touch it. If you are found with gun or any kind of arms or ammunition, you're already guilty of an offense for which you can be shot at sight. There's no governor among those who are saying our governors are not protecting us. Your governor under this constitution does not have authority over one rifle, not even one pistol. Unless the federal government, through the police, through the army, or the DSS, or the agencies of the federal government, unless the federal government license anybody to carry arms in your space, any gun found outside that is already a crime for which you can pay with your life. That's how bad it is. And so, if anybody is hoping that those who have a plan to take over everybody's land, exterminate them, and hand over those lands to people they already invited, who are already here. The Fulani they threw our borders open to invite are already here. They are not to come day after tomorrow. They're already here. We saw them coming. We see them swarm all the nooks and crannies across the country. And all the guns that are available in the union and the hands of that federal government. Unfortunately, from the point in 1966 that the Nigeria ceased to be a federation, when the 5 constitutions that defined the union got toppled, and we went into unitarianism that centralized everything, now defined by this constitution we have on the table, 99. From that point on, Nigeria ceased to be a federation. All the federal governments from that point have been an aberration, have been a matter of treason, that the federal government is supposed to be the union office of the federating unit. Federal government is supposed to be Yoruba region, the western region, the eastern region, and the midwestern region, and the northern region of the time, forming a union office for common services. Let all of us not have different currencies. Therefore, that item, federal government. Let all of us not have our own armies and navies. That item, well, being on the exclusive list, the operational control will be something that the regions have to decide upon. It is the heads of the regions, that come together to decide what will happen with. That was what was agreed upon. Everything that the center has to do is the region. You couldn't go to introduce a bill in the center for the younger generation. In that agreement, in that union agreement that got toppled, which is now replaced by this dummy we have called the 1999 Constitution, you could not introduce any bill in the National Assembly of the time if the regional assemblies had not passed the bill. That is, you cannot go to say, let us set up, or the regions will debate it first and then craft what will be taken for formality before the national assembly. That's what the kind of arrangement we had. Wow. But since it was toppled, the center can now, people who are delegated, who were delegated to run the affairs, the limited, on a limited number of subjects, now toppled the owners of the enterprise. The regions were toppled and fractured into states, and the assets of the region taken over by that federal government. And now that federal government has in turn been taken over by the Fulani. So not only do we have a rogue federal government, that rogue federal government has been taken over by a tiny minority in the land, exclusively. Make a map of Nigeria and begin to put on that map the names of individuals on the commanding heights of all aspects of our national life, starting with the armed groups, whether it is the police or the army or the Air Force or the DSS or the immigration or the customs. Put those who head those organizations on that map and see what the picture you see. Check all the entry points, all the controls. Go to judiciary. You see who is the head. Put him on that map. Go to the legislature. Put him on that map. So you see that the Federation of Nigeria has been hijacked completely by a tiny band of people who have invited their kinsmen from all over Africa. You saw the governor of Bauchi State announcing to us that Fulani from all over Africa belong to Nigeria. And you see what they are doing to resettle them here, to exterminate people here, the owners of the land. Anybody who does not understand that that's what's going on is going to pay, in a manner that he will be lucky to be alive to tell the story. And it is that constitution that makes it possible. We've just dealt with one item, arms and ammunition, on that exclusive list. The one of election, federal and state elections are on that exclusive list, meaning that it's only Abuja that will process the people who will become your governors, your senators, your House of Assembly members. Nobody in Eastern Nigeria is part of processing who will be governor in Eastern Nigeria. Nobody in Western Nigeria. Is only in Abuja that they gather. And God Save You is one of them that will be in charge. Even they appoint head from other parts, the mechanisms, the levers of power in the place are always compromised in a manner that they produce only what they want for your state. That is for election. For corruption, there are three items that work together to create and sustain the corruption we are talking about. And unless that constitution goes down, nothing will scratch corruption. Nothing at all is even going to threaten corruption. How much more fight it? Section 6, subsection 6C. I want all of us to challenge the lawyers who have been going around telling us different things, all the NGOs that have been talking about fighting corruption. Anybody who says he can fight corruption or campaign against corruption under this Constitution 99 is a dishonest person, except he's just ignorant. And if you're ignorant, for goodness sake, shut the hell up and stay in your house. Don't go to deepen the problem of other people. Corruption, Nigeria has become a criminal enterprise under that constitution because it is my forged signature and your forged signature that has become the validation for the forged title deed they call the constitution. And so, as long as that 1999 constitution is the basis of the union, the 36 states that we had no hand in creating, they were all done by decrees. And look at the people who created those states. From the one of 1967 to the last of them, Abacha, go and check put them on that map to see who created 36 states, in which one region out of 4 has become 19 states and federal capital territory, effectively controlling more than half of all the representation in Abuja. Effectively controlling more than half. You are 4 people owning a business. Let's, for argument's sake, say you came with a quarter of the states at the beginning, and then suddenly one becomes more than half of all of you, meaning veto. And in that kind of setting, we also have 7 and 74 local government areas. When there's money to be shared, oil is sold, 3.3 million barrels every day. You bring it to the place of sharing. Those who bring nothing to it, on the average, takes away 72% of whatever is on the table, just because of those states the way they are. And local government areas, 774 local government. Kano has 44. Bayelsa, from which that oil is taken and sold, has only 8. You cannot add or subtract, except you go back to them in the National Assembly where they're in absolute control. Go and check how we came about the Company and Allied Matters Amendment of 2020. Go and check how it came. Go and check who got consulted. Tell me why somebody will be bringing the waterway control bill in the kind of disputation going on about Ruga, going on about the Fulani invasion, in which all the bodies of water will now belong to federal government with 6 kilometers of adjoining land. They will set up thousands of their Ruga. So again, we come back to our people who are sitting with them in Abuja under this constitution. It doesn't matter where you vote. in that debate, in any debate of any legislation at all.
You're going to lose.
Your offense is that you are sitting there against the will of your people at this time. You are one of those enabling the enemy to do what he's doing. You may come to say, oh, but I voted against the bill. Like some of our brothers come to tell us, oh, we're struggling. You know your numbers. You know that they are determined to do what they are doing. But because you are paid 15 million every month, you don't care whether the rest of the people die off. I'm talking to the senators from Southern Nigeria and Middle Belt. I'm talking to the House members from Southern Nigeria and Middle Belt. I'm talking to the governors and the state assembly members who go to share the blood of the people every month. It is that constitution that enables all of that. I'm talking to all the political parties because they all subscribe to that constitution that render the lives of the people unlivable, that compromise the future of these young people who are now protesting. They may not be able to articulate it the way we're articulating it. But I can assure you, they are getting to know. And they already have, they are putting human beings behind the problem. Who are these people that have made this happen to us? It is the senators and the House members and the assembly members and the governors, all of those who swear to defend and uphold that constitution, all of those who prepare themselves to contest election under that constitution going forward. At a time that people say, we cannot accept this constitution any further. If they do not pull back, while they can, and come back to the side of their people in rejecting that constitution, we don't want any other thing from them. We don't want their palliative. We don't want their sympathy. We don't want their commiseration. Each time killing takes place, all of those things are happening because that constitution is standing. That constitution is standing because you are sitting there with them. The only thing you can do now, the only thing you need to do now is to come out back from the place and join your people in rejecting that constitution. If you hang on to that constitution and get your monthly pay and you sit in the house, in the National Assembly or House of Assembly, lamenting the hardship of the people, nobody's going to pay attention to you the day this place will snap. As for whether this place will snap, it's just a matter of time. You send your children to Oxford and Harvard because you have enough money. You get headache, you board the plane and go to take treatment in Germany. The rest of the people cannot even find any public school that can train their children. They can't even treat malaria, and you saw their numbers when they began to invade those warehouses. Did you see the numbers? Did it not alarm you that this number of people could be going to fight over Indomie? And some of the governors have the infantry. Nobody is in support of criminality or brigandage. But you have something that was meant for the people ab initio. It was even contributed. It wasn't even government bringing it. It was the individuals that contributed the billions of naira that got used to acquire those food items. Then you hide it from the people. Suddenly there's commotion, and they find their way to the place, and you are busy threatening them for going to. Who has asked you where you kept your own loot? So back to the constitution that enable it. First, the governors do not owe you any obligation from what is written in Section 6, subsection 6C. All those things they say the first business of government is your security and your welfare is in chapter 2 of the Constitution. That whole chapter 2 that define all the good things of life for the citizen is nullified by Section 6, subsection 6C. So if your life is being compromised, your security is compromised, your welfare is compromised, it is because there is something in black and white in Section 6, subsection 6C of your 1999 Constitution that absolves the government of responsibility towards you in the social contract that the Constitution is supposed to be. The Constitution is a social contract. In that contract, yes, those in government house will get social benefit. Governor can go and take 10 billion every month. Senator can take 50 million home every month. But what of the citizen? All of the things they listed for the citizen, equal opportunities, equal treatment, welfare, security, all of those things are removed in black and white. Any lawyer who does not ask those people who are telling you that you are entitled to XYZ, whether they know about the existence of that section. The impunity we're talking about is from section 6, subsection 6D. So the man who does not owe you any obligation, he already has a 15-year period in which all the things they did in the past, the ones who are now godfathers, the ones who governed Nigeria between 1966 and 1999, everything they took from everybody, all the killings they did to be able to sit on it. That the root of impunity in Nigeria is in section 6, subsection 6D, which says that nobody can ask them questions for what they did in those 33 years in the name of government. Then you come to section 308, that gives blanket immunity to all of those who you elect as your governors and president. So you come again to the appropriation provisions that put the spare keys of the treasury in their hands. Section 81 requires the president to go to get permission from National Assembly to spend money. Section 82 permits the same president to run government spending money subject to certain dubious limitations that doesn't really come to anything if they work their way the year before. Once you put the figures right, you're able to take everything in the treasury as president without reference to anybody. Section 121 and 122 of the Constitution put the spare keys of the treasury in the hands of the governors in the exact same way. That is why they are all united in keeping things the way they are, knowing fully well that it never works. Providing any benefits for the citizen under this constitution is like fetching water with basket. It's not possible. It's not. But the ones who have to fetch that water, the governors, the senators, they are the ones who have to go to the river with that basket to fetch water for you. Them and their families will swim in that river, do with water whatever they like, because they are the only ones who have to get to the river. They're in the Senate, they're in government house. They know it is basket, the constitution that will have been bringing you benefit. Because in the third leg, I didn't finish the definition, for the people is the policies that now become benefit in your hand. Foundation is polity. Oh, don't overheat the polity. Then the politics is all of what you do guided by that constitution. Then the policies are the products of the kind of politics dictated by the polity. In that order, what you say is democracy in Nigeria, because I see some people I thought you could ordinarily say, oh, this one went to school. They come out to say, oh, let us protect our democracy. They even form NGOs protecting their democracy, whereas they don't have any democracy. It's like somebody in South Africa in 1980 or 1970 saying, let us protect a black in South Africa, protecting the democracy of South. Was South Africa not having elections every 4 years, every 5 years? They were having elections. They had parliament. They had courts. They had rule of law. But the blacks were, in another world, in their homeland. That's the kind of life we're living. We do not have government of the people because we have not made the constitution. We do not have government by the people because all the things that should have been the mechanism for deciding who gets to government house are taken away and compromised. And therefore, we do not have government for the people. We have seen it in all of what they're doing.
Time and time again.
And yet we can't even call them to order. They say, oh, let's wait for them at the next election. You are foolish enough not to know that the same people already have the arrangements of who will take over from who. Your vote is not going to count because there's an INEC. Even when INEC decide to repent for 5 minutes, when you finish, oh, there's one herdsman waiting for you in the Supreme Court. We saw it happen in Imo. That Imo people elected a governor. And then suddenly, somebody who came fourth was announced as the winner. And the Imo people, against all their protestations, are not able to do anything about it. Yet people will sit in that Imo and say, let us protect our democracy. We do not have a democracy, we are being deceived. And anybody who is clinging to that constitution, the political parties, I'm informing all of those who are lamenting their torture in this land, in this country. I'm pointing them to the source of their problem. I'm pointing them to the human beings that are making it possible. Not people from faraway places, people from their own portions of the country who swear to defend and uphold that instrument of oppression. All the campaign for how we reverse this situation boiled down to one item: taking down that constitution. Unless that is done, everybody is wasting their time. Are we able to do that? Absolutely yes, because we are a majority. Those who now know are larger in number than those who do not know, and are far more in number than those who impose that instrument. We only need to say Nigeria was formed by proclamation in 1914, proclamation of one person in Buckingham Palace. We are on the verge of a proclamation by this absolute majority. The whole of the South, the whole of the Middle Belt, in rejection of Sharia that have been imposed by the same people who imposed this constitution and who embrace feudalism, which they've managed to transpose to our national life. Your governors are now the emirs, unaccountable. We have an imaginary economy in which people's lives are ruined by what government is doing, and then government turns around, having taken all the money from the treasury, to be doling out to them. You know, we saw people we thought knew anything, people who schooled overseas, who have traveled the world. They sit in Abuja. Some of them pastors. They sit in Abuja, working for the federal government of Nigeria, talking about SME, 7 and 7, 4 local government areas. They're going to. You can see what Keyamo had been mandated to do, to go and create jobs in 7 and 7, 4 local government areas. In which part of the world do you sit in Abuja, in the capital, to plan, to micromanage a population you do not have a database for where they are? Does Nigeria know where its citizens live? Does Nigeria have a database of who the citizens are, to know where they are and what they may need? Yet we have all the things that will govern their life, that will shape their life, that will shape the economy in which they live, sequestered to Abuja. Then every now and then things go bad, they go and pull out. Even in this protest, they've already pulled out 75 billion. Say, oh, we're going to give to youth. No matter how you share it. And we saw how they shared the palliatives, where there was the woman that says that she spent 600 billion feeding school pupils who were at home. That 75 billion, no matter how much they give to you, will it provide electricity that is not there? Will it provide the roads that are not being built so that you can do your business in that small place where they give you? And how many people can they reach? How many people are in this distress? How many people are... Why can't we free up the economy for people to use their God-given talents to fend for themselves? You are inviting people into agriculture. You take all the money to go and build dams in your own part, doing commercial agriculture. Yet Fulani herdsmen are occupying the farmlands of other people. And we are supposed to be doing one national agricultural food security, and people from this part sit in Abuja with the people who are trying to exterminate their people in the name of working for federal government. How do I farm when armed people are upon my farm? All the investments people made in the South in agriculture, go and see the outcomes. If we are not addressing the problem from the source, to remove those armed Fulani herdsmen that make farming impossible in southern Nigeria, we are just pretending. Because the same people who are planning to take over your land are choking you out of they are laying siege upon you to bring hunger on a scale that you've never seen before. Because whatever was happening, the citizens were at least farming and trying to feed themselves. Today is not so. And what's the reason? So we have arrived at the point where I've talked about corruption, I've talked about insecurity, whether it's coming from SARS or coming from Fulani herdsmen. I've talked about elections that will never be right. I can go on to each of the 68 items. I talked about impunity. If you do not turn off the tap, it can only get worse. The Constitution of Nigeria is the tap from which all of these are flowing. The ones in Niger Delta who want their resource, all the petroleum, oil and gas, and solid minerals are all on that exclusive list. Niger Delta, it is that exclusive list in the 1999 Constitution, or to put it more simply, it is the 1999 Constitution that sees your assets. Until that Constitution is taken down, all this discussion about petroleum industry bill are by people who are deceiving you into thinking they are now discussing how to give you back anything. The way it was in the NDD, the Niger Delta Commission of the 60s, with UNPADEC that followed, with NDDC that came later, with Niger Delta Ministry that came, who owns Papa's land? Who owns the assets? Why can't Nigeria define what is Nigeria? Why can't Nigeria then define the ownership structures of the assets so that everybody can be an equal partner in that transaction? No, they have taken it from you by subterfuge and brigandage. There's now a constitution you must obey. You are a slave, and the slave is not entitled to anything the master has not given him, not even his life. The master can do away with the life of the slave with no consequence. That's what consumed Abiola. Abiola was that slave that wanted to rule over the house of his master. That was his offense for being killed. That was the offense of Ironsi. That was the offense of Jonathan.
Wow.
If you want to know what killed those three men, go to that Ahmadu Bello battle script of 1960. So you can see the offense. You remember when Abiola financed MPN, the agreement was that after 4 years, he would then take his turn. When the time came, he went to buy the farm. What did they tell him? That Nigeria is not for sale. Oh, you may have brought all the money, but look, not people like you. He had a wife called Simbiat. Simbiat sat him down and explained to him what the people were saying. He gave up temporarily. Then came the next time. Simbiat had passed on. Abiola went and dusted his political file, went on the journey again, won the primaries, won the election. What happened to him? He got locked up. Check who locked him up and the circumstances of his death. Put all the principal characters on that same map you made before and see who was at the other end of what was happening to him. That's what we're dealing with. And they have made that control permanent by this constitution. Anybody who is saying he wants anything to change, who is not already a part of how that constitution will be taken down, is actually working for the enemy. No matter how much exaction they are doing, no matter what else they are saying. And I see people who say, oh, free and fair election, or oh, good leadership. Have you asked yourself, why have we ended up with the worst leaderships progressively? Those who say it is good leadership, oh, I agree with them. Good leadership will be better if we have it. Why can't you, with all your education, ask yourself, why we can't get that good leadership? That's what I'm pointing out to us now. Why we have not got the good leadership? Those who are preaching that gospel of good leadership of Lee Kuan Yew, if I were to tell our people the quantum of time we spent trying to explain to them in private that there's a tap from which this is running, not for you to go to contest election. I see a lot of young people now saying, oh, let us give us 50% of government control. If you do not know where the skeletons are buried, you will be swept away by the hurricane. The challenge right now, if anybody wants anything to change, you're not going to get any electricity better than what you have now, 5,000 or 30,000 megawatts of electricity. You're not going to get any better road or railway or port. You're not going to get any accountability because the people who control the treasury are given immunity. No matter what you say or do, you can't reach them. If we wait for them to get to another election, the biggest challenge what we have to do as a matter of the first order of business is to make it clear to the whole world that no further election will happen under this constitution. Because if we go to another election, another 4 years is added to your misery. Another 4 years of killing, another 4 years of deprivation, another 4 years of consolidation on the part of those who imposed that constitution. We can at least tell those people from our own part, my brother, you have enjoyed this constitution for 21 years. We have seen their country homes across the land. We have seen their fleet of vehicles. We saw Dino Melaye making a display. That's the average of what you find with every senator. It doesn't matter how they try to pretend. Go overseas and see what they do with your money. We travel quite a bit. So the first order of business right now, inside October, that is almost at an end, inside November, that is a long time. Let it be made clear to all of them that no further elections will be allowed under this constitution. If we do that much, that constitution will be done before December. If we make it clear to PDP and ABGA and APC and all the political parties that subscribe to that constitution that they will not be allowed to drag us to another election under that constitution. If we do that inside November, and the young people in this land are able to do that, because they now know that going to that election is like renewing their enslavement. Going to that election in 2023 is like signing their death warrant all over again.
Wow.
It's like putting a seal to the mark of poverty in which Nigeria has become the poverty capital of the world. Nothing will change. Mediocrity, worse than the type we have seen, will be enthroned further and further. Look at all the agencies of government and show me one person you want to discuss anything with. In terms of excellence or mediocrity.
Discussing things.
Where are all the knowledgeable people? They are chased away.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Tony. I really appreciate everything you've said. Let's speak to the people at home a little bit.